radio show. I married a music man. Radio show.
I'd like to welcome you to another segment of the I Married a Music Man show. My name is Dr. Joyce McNichols, and my co-host is
My name is Dr. Marlin McNichols.
who happens to be my husband and a music man that I married 30 plus years ago. Yes. Well, you know what? We have an interesting show for you today here. This show is going to focus on publishing, copyright, licensing, song usage, and a few more nuggets for you out there. This show is designed for all of those who are interested in the music industry, or shall I say the business of music. If you are a recording artist, a writer, a producer, a music company, etc., this show is for you. We come here today with multiple years of experience in the area of all of the above and even more. But most importantly, this program is to help recording artists, as I said, and those of you who are in the actual industry now, trying to navigate your way through this very confusing and complicated industry. We're here to provide you with information, valuable information, that's going to educate and entertain you at the same time. We have a special guest today here in the studio with us, and I am going to ask my husband, Dr. Marlin McNichols, to go ahead and introduce him. And you're sure to have a power-packed show today, so grab your friends, grab pencil and paper, and stay tuned. Go ahead, Doctor.
Hello, all of our viewers that's tuned in today. We'd like to welcome you to this show, and I'd like to introduce to you my great friend from Detroit, Michigan. He's a well-known publisher, record executive, label owner, and straight from the Motor City, and his name is Sammy Kaplan.
Welcome, Sammy.
Thank you so very much.
Yes.
What a pleasure to be here with you guys.
Pleasure to have you.
Thank
Sammy,
you.
give us a little bit about your background.
Seeing this is a 4-hour show, I might be able to help you. My background started in a lovely town in Michigan called Detroit.
Yes.
The year was 1960. I was just a young little girl, a boy then. Oh my God, in Detroit, anything could happen.
Oh my
And I was there, just a youngster in the business, trying to learn my way around. I found my way on Woodward Avenue.
Yes.
And those of us who can remember Woodward Avenue, it started there in 1948.
Yep.
My father took me to Jazz of the Philharmonic with Norman Granz in 1948. I was 12 years old. Makes me 103 right now. and my enjoyment started at the age of 12 years old. As I grew older, the years kind of went along where all of a sudden I had an opportunity to get into the music business. And that opportunity was in 1957. I was 21 years old, and I was offered a job of working for Verve Records, who was the owner of the soundtrack called Funny Face with Audrey Hepburn and Fred Astaire.
Look at that.
And there I was traveling around the world, or at least the United States, doing promotion on Funny Girl with Fred Astaire and Leslie. It was quite a joy.
Wow.
And I came back to Detroit and I got a job doing local promotion for a record distributor called JK Distributing. Yeah, Marlon remembers. He worked also. That's where we met. We met in Detroit in 67?
67, 68, yeah.
Yeah, 67, 68. I had the good pleasure of meeting this real fine gentleman who was young.
Yeah.
And very, very bright, and also loved music. And I said to him, this is the kind of guy I like to be around. And we have a relationship that goes on 40-some years, 50 years now, of respect, of admiration. I admire the man for what he represents. I admire him for his music, and I admire him for his family.
Well, thank you so much, Sammy. I really appreciate those friends, real friend friends' comments.
Yeah,
and
real friends.
Right, right. Over the years, that really mean a lot. Because we've seen the industry evolve so much, all the way from Art JK, and which was the major distributor, and we were in the industry where the record business was fun. It was real industry, things were happening, and Art JK was like a bounce off spot for me.
See, yeah.
Yeah, because you was in the industry before, way before me, and Art JK was like one of my first serious jobs on the record promotion side.
Do you remember how you got that job working at Art JK?
I sure do, and I'm glad you asked.
Thank you.
Because what happened is that, and I wasn't trying to get a job.
What do you mean you weren't trying? You were retired before you got into the business, or what? How did that happen? Huh?
Well, I heard that Atlantic Records was looking for a local guy. And Clay McMurray was the rep, but Clay at that time came up with a hit record on Spider Turner.
Exactly.
Remember that?
Oh, I surely do.
And he left Art JK, and the job was open, and it was a bunch of other promotion guys put applications in, and then at that time I was just still working with Edwin Starr. But so when the opportunity came, I put my application in anyway, and Henry Allen, who was the vice president of Atlantic Records, he hired me directly himself.
Smart move.
Yeah,
Very good.
Yeah.
Wow.
How long were you in Detroit with the distributor before you branched out?
I was only at Art JK for about a year and a half, and I went back working with Edwin Starr, and that's when we came up with the record 25 Miles.
What a great song. What year was that, 68?
68. Yeah.
In 68, you were doing your thing with Edwin Starr, and as a result of it, you had a #1 record with a great artist and a great record company, and there you were, a young guy with a #1 record. Quite some doing for a guy from Battle Creek, Michigan.
I know that's right. Cereal company.
That's, yeah.
Tony the Tiger. Wow.
Boy, oh boy, look at that.
Yeah, and those, those was the great days of the record.
Yeah, absolutely.
As
Yes.
industry. Yeah.
We could talk about that. You know, the
Yes.
great days of the 60s in Detroit. That's
Yes.
probably where we both started, really, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And the wonderful people that we met, and the great artists that you were involved with, and how you developed as an individual, and had a great wife to be with you. The success of a man is always the success of a woman. Having a great woman, sure to hell, it makes it work. You know?
one
it
that
does.
right, one that can handle the bumps and bruises of the industry, right? Especially,
and it don't hurt if they're good looking. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yes,
Marlon?
yes.
Yeah, that's a bonus.
Well, okay, Sammy, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
You
very
know
much.
what? I want you to talk to us about Boogaloo Records.
Interestingly enough, I was involved with a guy by the name of Jerry J. Murray,
Okay.
known as Jerry O, spelled Jerryo.
Oh, wow.
Jerry O. And he came to me I was recommended to him. He was a guy that was recording in Chicago, originally from St. Louis. He had recorded under Tom and Jerryo, had minor success at ABC Records, and came into my office one day. I had a little office on Greenfield and James Cousins, and I was doing promotion,
yes.
independent
Wow.
promotion.
Wow.
And he walked in the office and he said, I wonder if I could have a minute of your time. I said, why not? He came in, he said, I got something. He said, I want to play you a song of mine. And he played me Papa Chew, Do the Boogaloo. And I said, let me listen to it again. And he gave me it for a second time. I said to him, I think I could be interested in this. he said, what would you do with it? I said, I'd probably be able to get you on radio here in Detroit. And that's where it started with Boogaloo Records in Jerry-O, 1966, with Papa Chew Do the Boogaloo. This guy was incredible, this Jerry-O. Why was he incredible? He had limited talent. Yeah. When I say limited talent, he didn't sing, he didn't dance, he didn't play, but he had some way of making that music happen, man. He knew how to put it all together. He brought in the Funk Brothers, all of the original guys, Benny Benjamin, James Jameson, Richard, good friend of Marlin's, Richard Popcorn Wiley, good friend of yours. Was part of the original upbringing of that whole generation of Motown. And this guy Jerry-O, he'd get 2 bottles of scotch. We'd have a little of that reefer, handy, and we'd have some ribs there, and we'd have some chicken. And at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Joyce and Thelma, the girls that sang with Tony Orlando, Dawn,
absolutely.
They were in our studio. They were singing. They were 15 years old, and their mom was watching everything like,
Man.
And we started out with Jerry-O, the Funk Brothers, and the girls, and made some marvelous music. The music that he recorded between 1966 through the rest of that decade up till the 70s is well known, been in many movies, television shows, been licensed all over the world as far as the actual recording. And to think that I was lucky enough to be involved with him.
Yes, and this is where I think you guys are going to dialogue into some of this publishing things, right?
Okay.
You know what? In fact, we're going to do a break first, and then we're going to come back, and then we're going to all the rolling. Stay tuned.
I married a music man. Yeah. Radio show.
That you want to stay tuned to. We're going to be talking again about publishing, copyright, licensing, song usage, and as I said before, a few other nuggets with our guest, Sammy Kaplan, and my husband, Dr. Marlin McNichols. I'm going to give it to you, Doc, right now, and take it away.
Yes, Sammy, I know that you've been a big part of the publishing part of our industry. And how did you get involved in the publishing side? What inspired you to get involved on the publishing side?
This is a very interesting question. What inspired me to get involved with publishing was that in my previous life in the music business, before I started in the publishing, which was 1960, I was 24 years old when I started Love Lane Music. And the reason I started Love Lane Music is because I was representing some music publishers from different parts of the United States in Detroit with their music. And my job was to take their music and get it played at the local radio stations, as you and I both did the same thing. We went to the guys with our content, presented our music, and then became friendly and got music played in those days on a friendship basis, and also the music.
Right,
Absolutely.
It worked for you, it worked for me, and it worked for all of the guys that were legitimate who really enjoyed their work. You were that kind of guy. You enjoyed it, you communicated, and you got results. Plus, you had a
Absolutely.
great background. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You came from Battle Creek. How bad? They had cereal there.
Well, we had,
You know.
we
Kellogg's.
Kellogg's and
Yeah, you and
Postums.
Kellogg's.
Yeah, we had a little bit of
Uncle Marlin and Kellogg's.
Yeah,
So I started early viewing others who were successful in publishing and just took it upon myself really to start this company. My father was in the business in the 40s, but he didn't do publishing. He did recordings. He had a company called Danceland Records, which today is very important as far as the tradition and the music of which he recorded in the 40s, starting with Little Pork Chops. Little Pork Chops was John Lee Hooker. But John Lee had been recording for different people with different names, but Pork Chops was a name that my father gave him. And in 1948, in November of 1948, my father started Danceland Records with a guy by the name of Candy Johnson, who had played with Duke Ellington, Count Basie. Do I have to say more?
No, you don't.
no,
Thank you.
Right,
No, you
absolutely.
don't. That's
So
that's
we
much.
go from the early part of my life, of the being at 1948, I was 12 years old, to the publishing, which was a decade later. And I always liked the idea of what these publishers represented. Didn't know much. Somebody came to me, I don't remember who, and said, I'd like to do some business. And I said, the publishing? He said, by all means. And I started out in 60 with a guy from Grand Rapids, Michigan, whose name was Bobby Bonds. And he reminded me of Ricky Nelson. The only difference was Ricky Nelson sold 200 million and Bobby sold 25 copies.
Yeah, right.
Well, you know, I mean, what the hell? There is a difference. Excuse me.
Oh my God, just a little.
And I went around telling people, this is
Just
the
a
next
little.
Rick Nelson. They said, how many records he said? I said, 25. They said, you got to be out of your mind. How you going to get past 25? I said, I didn't think about that one. How you going to get past 25? So the publishing business, to answer your question, is publishing. You and I both are publishers.
Right.
You're very successful. You have some wonderful music. You have a great catalog. And I feel that I have a nice catalog of good music, and I enjoy working it on a basis of people still want to use it, as they do with you. And we're there to say yes.
Yes.
We
yes,
are
yes.
there to say yes to
Yes.
people that are interested in our music. Yes, we can do something for you.
Absolutely.
You are saying yes to people daily. This is devoted for people who are looking for a man like yourself who is honest, devoted, and talented to lead them in new directions. I would suggest, knowing you as I do, that if in fact you're listening and watching, Marlin is the kind of a man that I would work with and have worked with for a good many years. And you're very lucky to have, whoever it may
Wow.
be, male or female, lucky to have a person like Marlin working on your catalog and having Joyce to be able to be there working with them, because it's a partnership of two people.
Awesome,
They're partners
awesome.
in it.
Absolutely.
Thank you
Yeah,
for that.
absolutely. They're
Thank you
partners.
for that.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's get into a little bit about song ownership of songs. Let's talk. You and Doc.
Yeah,
Y'all got it.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, Samuel, we as veterans and experienced entrepreneurs in our industry, we know the value of music publishing, and for those folks that are new and just getting into the industry, what does publishing mean? The ownership of a publishing company, and what does that mean to those new people owning their own publishing company?
Interestingly, it amounts to when you say dealing on a level of the intellect of a man like yourself in terms of creative. Companies, large companies today, do not understand the real need of having men like you who are able to give honest direction and interpret what the artist is about in a fabulous kind of gesture of music. Your music is very special. What you do with music is unique. You bring a different dimension. Your catalog has layers of dimension to it that if you're a person of history and you want to follow history in music, you follow Marlin and where he started and where he's been, and it becomes very interesting in following the graph of your music. You have a huge range of music with some wonderful songs and wonderful artists. Some of that belongs to Joyce, too, in terms of her artistry, her performing,
Absolutely.
and her attitude towards the general audience. You excel in that part. Both of you excel with people.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
It's about the publishing. It's about who you deal with. It's about who they are. It's about you. You represent a different mentality in the business. You go back to when the music business was a whole, as you mentioned earlier, a lot different, and a lot different in a way that you and I had many great moments, have great moments to share together. And we have shared them in a lot of different ways.
Yes,
It's a
definitely.
pleasure to share with you, and it's a pleasure to be in this conversation about publishing because you excel in publishing. And again, those that are interested in having a devoted man and woman, both of you, to attend to music is a very important matter of the future.
Wow.
Especially
Thank you,
when
sir.
you're young.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
thanks a lot.
And you look
Yeah.
at that as being young and a compliment, you know.
Yes,
There's so
yeah.
many rewards to publishing of which you're versed with, of how to make a deal, how to collect money. Those are separate issues that Marlin and Joyce both have been a part of for 30, 40 years of the publishing world. So I would think you both have a great handle
Yeah.
on what it is that
Yeah.
publishing is all
Oh,
about.
oh, definitely. And then
Yeah.
I wanted Doc to chime in on the money aspect of that too, Doc. The royalties. You know what I'm saying? How all that connects with it.
Right, absolutely. And as a publisher, and as well as Sammy knows, in today's business of the record business, we see where Berry Gordy sold Motown for $60 million, right? But we also see where he sold Joe Bett to EMI for $300.
Now worth probably $2 billion.
Now worth about $2 billion. So,
Yeah.
So, with that in mind, where does the real dollars lie in our industry, Sammy? Where do you feel that the what part is the biggest rewards? Who's getting the biggest rewards financially? The record label or the publishing company? Because you know, at the record labels, it's two different businesses. Because you know, at the record labels, the president of the publishing company runs that part of the business as the president of the publishing company. The president of the label runs the label, and it's two different businesses. Okay, within those two different businesses, where does a young songwriter that's have wrote some songs. What does he do with those songs that he's written? Then once he's written those songs, what kind of money can he make? What kind of numbers will that produce for the writers?
Yeah, the money and the royalties.
The
Yes.
royalties.
Everybody wants to know that.
Yeah, everybody.
Everybody wants to know
everybody
about
wants
that.
to know that one. I'd like to know that one too. As we
All
all know,
right.
everything is a variable.
Absolutely.
You know, it's all a
Absolutely.
variable. It depends on where the song is used, how it's used, what the performance of the song, what the license calls for. It's all separate things. But if you have a hit song, you make a lot of money.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's really where it's all at, though.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
it depends on how the song is used.
Absolutely.
And where the license is generated from, meaning when you say generated, who's responsible for licensing that song, the publisher, to whether it be a TV show, a commercial, if the commercial may be run on network and may be done on internet. The variations are all different, of which you and I are both familiar with. And they change based on
change.
where the license is from.
Yeah.
Film pays, as we
Yes.
know, better than television.
Absolutely.
Television, I'm talking about commercial television, pays better than internet. It's all variations of revenue based on the usage of where that song is licensed for.
And what's both of you guys? What is the because I write as well. So
Yes.
this question is definitely something I'm interested in. What is the value of ownership?
Value of ownership is very simple. Barry Gordy was extraordinary in selling his Joe Bett music, which comprised of all of those hits of Four Tops, The Supremes, Marvin, Stevie. As Marlin referred to in terms of selling the publishing maybe 15 years ago to Universal, at the time for, let's say, $300 million. And today, that $300 million probably would represent $1.5 billion in terms of what songs are available, how popular these songs are, and how they're used. The usage is really the key to it. You know, if it's a major
Definitely.
film,
Yes.
if it's a major TV show, the monies can be to those who have hits. And it's
Absolutely.
graded on the fact if you're lucky enough to be or talented enough to be in that circle where you have a hit, both on radio, both on television, both on internet. The huge amount of money today is from many different societies.
Yes.
It's either BMI,
Right.
Yes.
ASCAP,
Good
or
you said
CSEC.
that. Yeah,
There are three
yeah.
societies to it.
Definitely, definitely. And you know, to those who may not know, because you know we're hoping to reach a vast audience of people, those just beginning, those who are
Yes.
not really clear, those who are well versed
Yeah.
here. Explain the BMI and the ASCAP.
Basically, they're a banking system. They collect revenue. BMI, ASCAP are in competition, and CSAC are in competition with each other. They represent music publishers, such as myself and Marlin. They represent songwriters, such as you, Joyce, in terms of you're affiliated with BMI.
Yes.
As affiliated with BMI, that in the sharing of this music, the writer and the publisher, as Marlon and I both know, share equally depending on how much of the percent of each writer
Right.
they attribute to the song. If a song has 100%, which they all do, or in publishing, you get paid based on 100% to the amount that one owns of that 100%. If you're a publisher and you own all of it, you get 100%. If you're a publisher and you split your publishing with two other people, theoretically, and you share, you each get a third.
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
that becomes 33. And the same thing with writers. If you're sharing in your writing and you're writing with a co-writer or writers,
That's
S,
right. Yes.
depending on the number of writers, the proportion changes, and the agreement is such that that doesn't necessarily mean that, as Marlon and I know, it has to be a third, and a third. There are times when a writer takes Moore, who
Absolutely.
created the song and then shares it and
Absolutely.
splits it. And you may say to me as a writer, I have 50 and Jane has 25
Right.
and Teresa has 25.
Right.
And I'd say, fine, that's
That's right.
100%.
That's
so
right.
it's not always a third or a
Absolutely.
half. It depends on
depends.
how much you contribute
Right.
Absolutely.
and what the agreement
Right.
and how greedy others are.
Others are, yeah,
greedy.
yeah. And Doc, you do this one for me. And the arrangers, the writers. You know, a lot of times people think I'm pinning the actual song, but it has to do also with the actual arranger and the musicians, right? The musical arrangement of the song. Is that also a part of that shared?
No.
100%. It
Not
is
at
not.
all. No, not
Okay.
at all.
Explain that, because I know over the years, and Doc, chime in, please. Over the years, we've had, say, groups that were not understanding that, and there was always some sort of schisms about that. You know, I did the music and I wrote the lyric and all that. Go ahead, baby.
Well, no.
Okay. Well, you know what? I always was in favor of sharing royalties right from the creative side with the arranger, but that's not a part of the business.
No,
The
no,
range,
not at all.
no, right. The rangers were paid for hire.
Right.
Musicians were paid
They
for
are.
Okay.
paid for hire.
Okay.
Even if they're in the studio or in a recording studio with you, with the conception of the song, back in the days, they were just paid as musicians for hire.
Work for hire,
Yeah,
correct.
work for hire.
Right.
And so now we're moving closer to now where the younger folks in the industry that are musicians,
Right.
that are on the front end of the song,
Right.
they want a piece of the action.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I say to them,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Yeah.
We all say,
Absolutely.
yeah. They want to. You're so
Yeah.
right. If you're
Absolutely.
there and you're sitting there and you're all of a sudden you
Absolutely.
change the karma of the song, you say,
Right.
try this. I'm doing this lick
Absolutely.
here, and all of a sudden the guy says, I love it. I want to use it. Is he not entitled to have
There you
something as
go.
a reward?
There
My
you go.
answer is totally.
Absolutely.
You bring a chemistry. You bring more color to the picture.
Yes.
Music is coloring.
Yes. Yes.
As you color, you bring more to the interpretation of what the picture is.
Yes.
The color adds to it.
Yes.
Same thing with writing and playing. Writing in particular is very special.
Yes.
And in sharing writing, you really have to. Writers have a difficult time, most writers, understanding the dialogue of how important the word share, S-H-A-R-E, I think,
Absolutely.
is.
Absolutely.
And so that the composition that you talk about with writers is more creative than it is when you talk about publishing, because publishing is a business style form
Yes.
and writing is a creative
Yes,
form. They work
absolutely.
together.
Yes.
But writers don't have the grip of why they need a publisher. They need a publisher like Marlin and you
That's right.
because you will give them direction. You will give them opportunity, and you will give them a chance to learn how to work with what they have and help them in
Yeah.
what they have.
There's a lot of misconceptions.
A
in that.
lot of
Lot of
misconception,
misconceptions in
and
that.
especially with young people today.
Yes.
The
Absolutely.
greed part of the business, greed,
Yes.
is very common.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, you know what? We're going to take a break right here, you guys. And wow, I know you guys are going like, oh my God, this is so exciting, so much information. But stay tuned. We'll be right back.
This Edwin Starr remix project was a lot of fun to work on. Was reached out by Marlin McNichols to be involved in the remix project. And, I've always been a fan of Edwin's music, so I was really honored to be asked to do a remix on it. Thanks a lot, Marlin, and I hope you all in the world really enjoys this remix.
So scared of losing you.
Thank you for hanging in there, and welcome back to the I Married a Music Man show. Doc, go ahead and elaborate on that, what you were just speaking about.
Okay. I want. We're talking about sharing of royalties and different writers sharing the royalties. Sammy, we both know the Paul Risers, the Dave Vanderpits, all of the great arrangers of music that played a major part of the hit records at Motown. And especially, I can remember in my case, I used to bring Paul Reiser. I work with Joe Hinton. We used to bring Paul Reiser.
Joe Hinton, bass player?
No. Joe's Hinton. Joe Hinton was at Motown. He was responsible for all the background arrangements for all of the groups.
Okay.
He's the one that
Was he a player at all, or no?
piano. He played keyboard.
Piano,
He played
all right.
keyboards.
I thought he was a bass player.
Yeah,
All right.
he played keyboards himself. But we used to bring Paul Reiser our ideas. That's all they were. They were hummed out of tune.
Yeah, right.
Written on lunch papers, lunch bags, and Paul would take what we'd done and brought the music back and made us sound like geniuses. But it was all Paul Reiser's arrangements, and Paul only got paid as a musician for hire.
Right.
But I always thought that the arranger, who played such a major part, should have shared in some kind of royalty, but it never was a royalty created for the arranger.
Never.
No.
You know, it's amazing. He's one of the original Funk Brothers, and Paul. He did all that Jerry-O stuff that you're talking about back when we started in '66. It was to think about the business side. It was very loose. I mean, you know, when you think about it, here you are, here I am, man. A lot of people floating around in Detroit, a lot of music going on there. Motown is raising the bar every week with somebody new and exciting. Ed Wingate was doing his thing there, who was an old friend of yours and an old friend of mine. A lot of people had history in Detroit, like you and I, back in those early years. A lot of good music was made, but the only one that was really, and Armin Baladian too, he had a
Absolutely.
lot of hits in Detroit.
Yeah.
The real consistency of that town, though, was in the music of what Berry Gordy heard originally. When he was first starting, he wrote the Jackie Wilson Reed Petite hit. He was a writer on that. He started as a songwriter and quickly moved from songwriting to Empire, Motown, the Empire, the indestructible, still is today, Berry Gordy. Of the talent that he possessed all those years, and the people that were involved in making this music, guys like yourself, other guys of the 60s that were all part of what was going on, a lot of money being made, a lot of people worked for hire, and that was acceptable. When you brought somebody in the studio, it was really work for hire. Musicians got paid, arrangers got paid, no percentages unless the arranger said, I want a point or two. In some cases, maybe they got a point or two. It was the producer that made money on the production side, the publisher, the writers of the song, and the artist.
Well, you know, Doc has always been gracious because he's always made room for the arrangers. He always has.
Better to give
Always
more,
has.
right?
Yes.
If your philosophy is give extra and make everybody even more than they really expected. And you're right about it, that should have been part of the psyche being of saying, here's the deal, and the arranger. It wasn't like that. It was a work for hire, and it was done that way. It probably still is.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yes. I want to ask you really quickly because we're
Yes.
going to be ending this shortly, and then we're going to have another guest in studio that we're going to bring on. But I want to. What is the word intellectual properties? Either or both of you.
let Sammy go ahead, Sammy.
Intellectual property can be a book, it can be music, it could be a science. It's a piece that's something that we create, individually create, and it's referred to as intellectual property. We then take what we create and we copyright under the name of Sammy Kaplan,
Right.
Marlin McNichols, and that becomes intellectual property. It's the ownership of what you create, and you're protected by the copyright laws of our country. That's what it refers to, copyright law.
Copyright law.
Yeah, of ownership.
Of ownership.
It
Okay,
proves
of
ownership
ownership.
of
All right.
copyright, intellectual property.
Absolutely.
Right.
Okay.
I'm going to ask you this, Doc. The CD sales plummeting, rock bottom now, right? And downloads are following suit, pretty much,
Yeah,
right?
yep, you're right.
Okay, but talk to us about that, Doc. Tell us, where's everything going? It looks kind of weird right now.
That's like a comment we made at the early part of the show, where the music business will never be like it was before. The whole landscape of the industry has changed. CD sales are non-existent anymore, and because there's no stores to sell them, and they're not in demand.
Pretty much.
Downloads are becoming going in the same direction. Download sales are way down. Downloads are not happening very much, and streaming has took to the forefront. I mean, and that's our new record business. And
That is the business.
That is the
streaming.
business
Yeah, that
now.
is
Yeah,
the business.
that's-
TV, recordings, everything is streaming. You've
Absolutely.
got somebody in the studio with you that could probably address it. Ron Colbert is his name, and in the next segment, you might ask him that same question because he's
Absolutely.
very much involved in television and advertising and such of streaming product. So that'd be a good question for Ron to answer in the
Absolutely.
next segment.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Wonderful. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah. We're going to
yeah.
definitely talk more about that.
Okay.
Okay. And one other question I'd like to put on the table here. Who are the top 3 major money-making companies right about now?
you mean publishers?
Well, publisher.
Yeah.
You know, the big guys, the record companies have publishing. Universal is a major entity, both publishing and recording. Sony is a major contributor to both record and also publishing. Warner Brothers is a major entity. Those 3 control 80% of the records sold, or the downloads, or the streams. They control 80% of
Yeah.
all income.
Yeah. And Doc, how does the independent owned companies fit into the equation with all that?
The independent stake is bigger than what's usually talked about, but it's probably in the area of 25 to 30% of all the income around the world. But most of those independents that are making money, that are independents, are distributed by these major companies, like Cash Money. I mean, they're distributed by Universal, Live Nation, Jay-Z's folks. They're distributed by Universal. So when you look at independents, they are independent, but they still go through the system.
Right.
You know, it's not like our independents back in what we call the fun side of the record business. You had independents that like TK Records.
From Miami, right?
Miami, Henry Stones.
Right.
These independents, they were the leaders. They were ones that brought in the new talent. The major labels then, they started doing deals with the independent to keep market share, because they had it, because independents were discovering all the artists. So it was at one time it was a real independent record business where an entrepreneur could have his own label and make money. Now it's tremendously hard for that to happen. You know, the stakes have changed. It's gone back to, as Sam and I are quite aware of, what they call the Big Four, which was Warner's, RCA, Sony,
And Universal.
And Universal.
Yeah.
Okay, then an era of the independents came along, and grabbed a big share of that market share. But now, in today's record business, 2017, the industry then reverted back to where it was originated from, back to the big three, back to the big four. And it's very difficult for an entrepreneur to start an independent label and stand up on his own because you can't compete financially.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Well, this is the last question this segment. I want to ask this to of Sammy and yourself. Where is the industry headed? Because now we're seeing even top executives moving over to run these digital companies. What's up with that?
Good question, Joyce. Go ahead, Sammy.
I'll defer to you on that. I really,
Okay.
I don't. I got to tell you something. I really
Yes.
have no idea to that
Yes.
question because
Okay.
it changes so rapidly.
Yes.
I mean, people come and go in this business, and
Right.
I have no idea of. I know to speak of though that Marlon and I both look at the past with great respect. And the present has opportunity for people and young people and old people and all kinds of people to become important. You have to pay your dues. You have to understand what the business is about. And if you study the business and you have some talent, there's a place for you. How much and where and when it happens, only the good Lord knows. I say a lot of this is really luck. A lot of things that happen you got to be lucky with. And that's how it worked in my way of thinking.
Yes,
Others won't agree to that, but that's my philosophy.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, what do you think, Doc, when you start seeing the execs go over to the digital companies now?
Well, when you see the Jimmy Iovine's and these guys that used to run the Universals in the major labels, they see the future of the business. It could become a time where record labels going to be owned by the utility companies. You're going to see the records going to be coming from companies such as Google that aren't labeled record companies, but they're in the entertainment business. And so you see these guys like Ivine and a couple other major guys moving over. They got the inside. They know. They got the inside, and they know where the conglomerates. They know where the that vibe of the entertainment industry going because they're the daily players on a major label. And on a daily players and with other major, with other players in the digital field. So the digital guys hire the top record guys to run the digital companies that can bring that knowledge in because the knowledge do go hand in hand. It's just like in our industry where they might say old school record business. It's a few things that are always going to be old school in record business. You're going to have to get a record played, and somebody's going to have to get to the radio station.
That's right.
Now that's old school in every era. And there's certain things that don't change. So what happens is these guys is moving over to the digital side. You don't see the young kids are doing it. They're bringing the older executives over.
Foundational
the
pieces.
foundation people
Absolutely.
to give that digital company that foundational record knowledge. And so when I say, and I might be way off, but I see the power in the future of ownership or record labels won't just be your standard record labels.
I agree.
That's how I see it.
I agree, and you know what? And I'm gonna just add my tidbit here. I notice when you see The Voice and you see American Idol and you see the force behind that, you'll see the Ivines present in some of those tapings. They're there. They're present, and they're there for a reason, right, Marlon? I mean, it's the new talent, the new way. Is that what it is? The connection there?
Okay. Well, what happens when you see The Voice, American Idol, and these companies? All of these TV shows got deals with record labels already. Ready. The Voice, the talent that wins, they go to one of Universal's companies. So all of these American Idol, they used to have a deal with Universal or whatever. But these Jimmy Iovine's and these guys that used to work at these labels, they're moving to the digital side because we're not selling no more CDs.
Right.
Downloading is becoming a thing of the past. Streaming is a thing going, and the digital companies are doing that. And so like I said before, my feelings that's where I feel that it might be heading, because our whole industry was caught off guard when this whole social media thing came into play.
Yep.
Even the executives at the record labels didn't know how to react right away. They got caught with their pants down. Even in the copyright side of our industry, is that digital and downloading came on the scene so fast, the copyright laws wasn't even in place.
Wow.
Correct.
Sammy?
Absolutely right.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
so
interesting.
these guys now, they're kind of positioning themselves for the new record business, and so that's my take on it.
Yes, good take too. We're going to take a break right here. This was an awesome segment, as all of them have been, but we have also another in-studio guest with us today, and we'll be introducing him when we come back shortly, okay? Stay tuned.
holy. Lord, you're holy. We declare with the angels. Lord, you're holy. 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 You're holy. You're holy, Lord. You're worthy.
Welcome back, everyone. We're going into our last segment. Again, this is the I Married a Music Man show, and I, again, am your host, Dr. Joyce Dozier McNichols, and my husband here is...
Marlin McNichols.
Yes, and we thank you guys for hanging in there. Listen, we have an exciting last segment here. We have a guest in studio with us, and his name is Ron Colbert.
Hello.
Hi, Ron. And I'm going to actually ask Mr. Sammy Kaplan to go ahead and introduce Ron to all of you.
Thank you so very much. I'd like to introduce an extraordinary human being, a man who has a very interesting background and a man who has a lot of knowledge in our industry. Ron Colbert, C-O-B-E-R-T, sitting here with us in the studio.
Welcome, Ron.
Thank
Welcome,
you very
Ron.
much, folks.
Thank you.
Yes.
Very excited to be invited just yesterday, and I'm like, sure.
Surprise, surprise. Tell us a little bit about you, Ron, and your background.
Well, I have been in the media and tech business for a long time. I deal in advertising and entertainment business, a lot of services, shopping center of everything full of the assistance to get to the next level, basically, and make something to monetize and to capitalize on art. So it's basically art and commerce. I've got multiple associations in business with different types of people in the industry. And I love the business.
Yes, yes.
I think it's a lot of fun when you can make money at art.
Yes, yes, yes. You know, we were just off during our break. We had a conversation, Doc, regarding the intellectual properties. I think it was,
Yeah.
and you had an interesting take on all of that. Why don't you share with us, Ron?
Well, pertaining to music,
Yes.
I think that, like you guys have been discussing, is the business has changed
Yeah.
quite a bit, and people are, it's funny how an artist is that is a commercial artist, somebody who can make money at their art. And that's not a dirty word, really, guys. I mean,
Money?
come on, everybody. No, yeah, come on, right, Sammy? You like money.
I love money.
We all do.
Yeah.
But the problem I see, and you guys touched on, is the fact that people, they get this greedy notion that one part is more valuable than the other. And, it's a shared effort. You have to build a team. I mean, I know doing film and TV commercials, I need a crew, man. I need to
absolutely.
I need a lot of people
Yeah.
to help me finish the project.
Yes.
And then we need to deliver it. So then it's another sector that we need to work with, and then we got to share again. But that's part of the whole operation. By the time you just have to create a valuable enough product that people are going to enjoy watching, and that's another thing. You got to understand who you're selling it to. You have to know your market.
Yes, yes.
And all those things. I mean, being a purist is fine if you're lucky, and we spoke about luck, if you're lucky enough to be only a purist. But in reality, those are phenomenons, really.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, so, work towards being a purist, but understand your business. You need to survive. Sustainability is key as an artist.
Absolutely.
And you're very familiar with film, right? You're a filmmaker, right?
Yes.
And I think we were even talking about how a lot of we know that soundtrack sells, okay, in terms of movies, okay. You have the movie, then you have the soundtrack, and I myself have heard a lot of interesting conversations regarding people basically who really haven't even gotten their feet wet in the industry, but they want their tracks in film. You know what I mean? That to me, I don't even know how that works, but what is the likelihood of that with somebody? How do you do that? Where do you start? And okay, Ron,
Oh my
there you
God!
go,
You know
Ron.
this populist
All
these
right.
days, these kids, You talk about luck again, I'm going to bring it up again. They are
Yes.
so lucky. What did we do? Back in the day, we wanted to make a film. We pulled out the old World War II Arri camera that was like, over 60, 70 pounds. These things are right in your hand. You can hold it and watch it and record it digitally. You don't have to get it processed. You need to create the story.
Those
line.
stories, absolutely.
And the storyline, you choose what do you want to say. And all that goes through another thought process. So the levels are intensely interesting because there's so many levels to actually doing that. You can always use music and film together, music and visuals. It doesn't have to be a feature film.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. 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 I just wanted to go and give a good example, and Doc, chime in anywhere you want. The Netflix series, I think it was like 2 of them, Get Down, that just aired, Get Down on Netflix. My nephew was one of the main characters, Ra, in that, and we know that
Beautiful.
Yes, it was centered back at what the Grandmaster Flash era, and filmed in New York, and just that whole thing, and with that, it was music and acting, and that artistry was superb. The way that it was all brought together, you know what I'm saying, and people just. I mean, it was kind of like a musical, but you remember how a lot of people I don't like musicals. Like back in the day, musicals, they were boring. But now
anymore.
there's a marriage in the acting and the music and in this case, a little animation. All of that I thought was very genius. What do you have to say about that, Ron, in terms of how that comes together and that looks?
I think I don't have any argument. I think it's the only way to fly. It's really the only way to fly because business-wise, it makes sense to showcase with the color of some visual to your sound. You put your heart and soul into creating a sound. Why not let everybody else see what you were seeing?
And what about the period stuff? Everybody's going to the period stuff, like focusing the 70s with them, and then everything's kind of going into these periods.
Yeah.
And people are loving to see that happen, right, Sammy? I mean, they're loving. Oh my God! All the fans that were friends of Curtis, what some of the African Bambaataa and all those areas, people are like, yeah, they were thirsting for this, and the way that it was presented was just, I think, was genius, and it happened to be a hit. Although we won't want to talk about budget, there was some issues with budgets on that because it was extreme. But people were just loving that.
What was the budget?
Oh boy, the budget was $120 million.
$120 million.
And it was way too much for Netflix to go. They was like, nah, I don't know about that.
Well, that's also something we have to be careful to tell the viewers because not everything these days can be
$120 million.
That
Absolutely.
money. We don't need to do that anymore.
Absolutely.
So don't think like it's this far-fetched idea, this concept that will never happen.
Yes.
Get it done. Get something done that you can actually showcase.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Doc.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I mean, you're right on point, Dr. Joyce, with your questions, and Ron is right on point when he said just get it done. A lot of times when you have these big budgets situation, it deals with in Netflix. Get Down case, the producer that done that's what he was used to.
Absolutely.
Producing films.
Chicago, Moulin Rouge, that was his stuff.
Yeah, that was his stuff.
Those things, yes.
And so he brought that type of budget into arena that didn't support it demographically or subscriptions or viewerships. When Netflix had 2 or 3 other their hit shows only costing $8 million, and they were making money, and when you come in with a show with $120 million, at this is business.
Let me point to something.
Yeah.
I was fortunate in the year 2016 to be involved with a song that was an Academy Award movie, Moonlight.
Yes.
The budget was to that film $25 million. It won an Academy Award. Domestically, that movie did about 28 to 30 million dollars, and the rest of the money that was box office was international. The movie had tremendous coverage and a lot of notoriety. And how do we explain today in this world, movie of that quality? Not generating huge amounts of money. Was it because of the subject matter? Was it because of studio? We have to look at things a little differently today in terms of, here's a film that was heavily involved in the community, in the black community. It's a black cast. It was well done. It was Academy Award winner. But then you look and you say to yourself, how is that possible that this movie at $25 million won an Academy Award when everyone in the world said La La is going to win it with a $140 million budget? It shows the tenacity of what we're talking about of a small budget film by A24 was the company that distributed, which incidentally Brad Pitt, yes, the same Brad Pitt that we all know is involved in, but that this movie won an Academy Award last year against other films that were really, well, shall we say, white-orientated, and here is a black film with a black cast winning the Academy Award. That speaks volumes for the future.
Yes, it really
does.
Really does. Go ahead, Ron, hon. Definitely.
$55 billion
Yeah.
made for
What?
27.
What?
Yeah.
And 27, we know the executives made a lot of money just off of that movie did really well.
Yeah, it was a great movie. The
Whoa.
movie to win an Academy Award.
Absolutely.
And the subject matter.
Yeah, and the subject matter. That
The
was
subject matter, you know,
mind-blowing.
is,
Absolutely.
wow.
I know.
You know?
Absolutely.
So tell us about the
absolutely.
scene there, Sammy.
And
Oh,
there was,
yeah, and
Sammy.
tell us about the scene
there
there.
was a song of mine called Hello Stranger done by Barbara Lewis, originally recorded by Barbara and produced by a wonderful, legendary man by the name of, good friend to Marlin and myself, a man who was an educator in music, his name being Ollie McLaughlin.
Absolutely.
And we can tell stories of the wonderful moments that we shared with Ollie, and the years was 1963 that he recorded Hello Stranger. And to see this song, the year 2016, in a movie that was all black and that was created by a black man and the artists were black, to see that kind of phenomena is unbelievable.
Keep
That
rolling.
many years.
More media.
Yeah.
More media. Everybody needs to continue to make.
Yeah.
I mean, nostalgia right now, it's never been more valuable. And
Okay.
I think that there's so much room for nostalgia. People are looking. Everybody has a phone or a TV. I mean, in America,
Yes.
I mean, you could watch really a movie anywhere.
Absolutely.
So the market
Yeah.
Absolutely.
is fat
Yes.
for space.
Yes.
Okay.
Good point.
Yeah. And there's a lot more room for black entertainment. And it's growing. This year alone has made more money than any time.
Yes.
Of course.
Yes.
Keeps on flying. New networks
network.
shooting up everywhere.
Absolutely.
Everything can go digital.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
Wow, wow. Well, you know what, Doc? You got any things that you want to chime in and say here? Because, excuse me, because I can say this. I wanted to just point out one other thing, and I know we were kind of already there, and we don't have to elaborate it after I just make this statement. But back to the budgets. We know, I don't know if you were familiar with Underground.
Yeah.
Loved Underground. That was a John Legend, I believe, executive producer on that. Recently got canceled. And everybody was thinking maybe Oprah would pick this up. But Oprah, for the same reason, budget we were talking about, making, spending all this money on period movies and that attract certain audiences, and sometimes strong content, depending on the culture, okay, and who's watching. That movie or that series cost $5 million per episode. So Oprah looks at it and says, I'd love to, but I can't do it.
She could do it herself for $5
She
million.
could, but
as
she's
hers.
looking. But she, as a business person, she's looking at
can't
stuff
do it.
like Queen Sugar. She's looking at
And
Greenleaf
I
and all
danced
those.
with Oprah.
Okay, all righty.
Okay,
all righty.
I know Oprah.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna tell you, she's
My ex
like
was a bud of hers.
really.
So, yeah.
Okay. And so Oprah's comment was, "I can't see where it's numbers.
Yeah. No,
It's
she's
all about those numbers."
she's actually a perfect example of art and commerce. She is one of the queens.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
She knew from the get-go, started in a studio in Baltimore,
Yeah, absolutely.
and took her career beyond. Harpo, very,
Yes. Oh,
very
yeah.
successful.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, you know what? We're going to be ending this segment, but Ron, give us a little bit about what's coming up for you.
Oh my. So I basically
That you can
yeah, some of it I can't, but definitely some of it I can.
Right.
The whole idea here for me is to constantly be creating with other people. So I come on basically as an asset to help that in multiple fashions, and I'm because of that I've gotten myself involved in creating new film. Okay, I'm delivering film that's been created in TV stuff, pushing the ideas, the concepts, finishing parts that people come to me. So say for instance, a lot of times people don't have something finished, and they say, they come to me, help Ron, because I have post facility. I'm an editing guy also.
Okay.
I'm a techie. I'm a hybrid though. I'm a salesman, so I place it. I find home for the intellectual
Awesome.
product. I've been around the industry in many fashions. So
Yes.
so the idea here, what I'm doing right now is pushing some new product, something for Atlanta. That's an interesting project it's basically about 4 very strong African American women, very powerful married women, and it's kind of like a Desperate Housewives push.
Okay.
Okay, they are affluent. They're making money.
Yeah.
The idea, I think, that I want to continue to do is continue to work. You kind of pigeonholed in the sense where you get into a certain position where you're doing certain work, and you got to finish what you're doing.
Absolutely.
So when I say pigeonhole, I don't mean that negatively. Some people could take that negatively.
word.
But I'm on a quest, constantly looking for new stuff to
Yes.
get involved with.
Yes.
So if anybody wants to reach out, I can always hear what they're doing, and I would be interested in taking a look at what they're doing.
And I hear doctors use that term pigeonhole
Yeah.
all the time. That's
So
a good word.
what's the pigeon that's
What's your
holding
take?
you?
Yeah, right.
Right. Absolutely.
We don't want to say it sometimes, but
Right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yes.
but so Oscar Night right now is being released.
Okay.
This is a mockumentary comedy
Okay.
that takes us back, period, nostalgia, about a director of the past.
Okay.
Okay. And that's what's going to be released very soon.
Okay.
And I'm excited about it. It has some celebrities in it. I have as well something called The Journey of the Female Comic. And
I love that.
Kiki Melendez is this comic.
Okay.
She's trying to make it in Hollywood.
Okay.
So she's another entrepreneur, very strong Latina, Dominican.
Okay.
Okay. From Dominican Republic.
Right.
And we're releasing those 2 right now.
Okay.
I have something with basically. I don't know why I say basically all the time. Can you edit that out?
You like the words. What's so bad?
I hate
Yeah,
basically.
Go ahead.
So we have another. So I have a couple tech pushes. I'm creating online catalog-based, subscriber-based streaming projects.
Sure. Great.
So
great.
yeah, you touched on streaming earlier.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
So I'm collecting property to stream.
Okay.
So that's another intellectual property. So also with that, I'm looking for property that I could place in the theaters.
Gotcha.
And TV.
Gotcha.
Cable.
Yes.
Cable has expanded to how many stations
Yes.
now?
Yes.
How many windows do we have as independents to reach out and make money at?
Yeah,
To
absolutely.
actually sell our goods.
Absolutely.
right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Wow. Wow.
So
wow.
I'm pushing
wow.
that. I have multiple things in that category. And then I have Brazilian people coming in wanting me to manage their productions. I got Japanese coming in.
Awesome.
So I'm a managing producer.
You're a busy man.
I love it all.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Wonderful.
You know what? Is there any way, and do you have information on how you can be contacted, or do you want to share any of that, or is it more?
Sure.
Well, please definitely let our audience know.
Sure. Okay. My ad agency is Oh Yeah Live, and you can go to Ron Cobert. Well, actually, you know what? Just go to ohyeahlive.com.
Oh yeah.
OHYEAH.
Oh yeah. All right.
LIVE.com.
Okay.
And you can contact me through there.
Okay.
All over. I am so transparent. My name is Ron Cobert. You know, I get some crazy calls from one end of the earth to the next. So, but it's okay. I mean, that's another part of being in this business.
Yes,
absolutely.
absolutely.
You know, you have to gauge the people that you meet, but you know, it's all about creativity. So, everybody's can be a little wacky, you know, because we're on that art side.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And your creativity sometimes has everything to do with your wackiness.
Exactly.
Okay? I mean, come on here.
But the quest is money.
Absolutely.
We need to make money, boys and
Absolutely.
girls.
Yeah.
And
All the
keep,
time.
And keep creating, y'all.
Yeah, you gotta be
Amen.
creative.
Well, you know what? This has been an awesome, awesome time with both of you. Mr. Sammy Kaplan, thank
What a
you
pleasure
so
to
much.
be in the
Great
company of
seeing you.
wonderful people. Great to
Yes,
Thank you,
yes,
Sam.
smooches, smooches.
see you both. And to see a new friend of mine who's
Yes.
sitting opposite me,
Absolutely.
putting this all
No,
together.
Ron.
The infamous.
Right, yeah.
I think this
Sarah
guy
For
is
Ron,
certainly
for
with a
Ron.
great smile and a great history and great
Yes.
parents.
Yes.
It all works.
Yeah, it all works together.
It all works together.
All works
Here to
together.
be complimented to both of you.
Great
It's
family.
Great,
Beautiful
great
family.
family.
Thank you.
Great family.
Thank you,
Thank you
Sammy.
so much. And Mr. Ron Cobert, thank you for adding
Thank
to
you.
this awesome day.
It's been fun.
Yes, yes, yes. And looking forward to speaking to you even more so. And Doc, is there something you want to say in closing?
Well, I think you kind of summed it up. And, you know, it's so great to see Sammy again and share, you know, some of our early stories. And it's, you know, it just go back and a great relationship. And it was tremendous pleasure of ours meeting our new friend, Ron.
Yes, yes,
And
yes.
we'll welcome you to the show.
Yes.
We know Sammy be with great people.
Always.
And
Thank
be
you,
with
thank you,
real
thank you,
people.
Doc.
Always.
And so you know, so you're part of the family.
Thank you,
Always.
Doc.
And
Yes.
any way we can accommodate you our services with your services or vice versa, hey, we're at your disposal, my friend.
That's what we're doing. Why are we here on Earth?
That's
why-
it. While we're here.
Yeah.
That's teamwork. Yes. And I'd like to thank my listening audience and viewing audience for you tuning in and just hanging in there with us. And hopefully we've said something that can help you guys out a little bit in your road to success, in your destiny, and even in your purpose here. Because it's all about teamwork. It's all about information, okay? And so hopefully, again, that we've said something that will push you a little further along. I hope you've enjoyed this segment of the I Married a Music Man show with my husband, Dr. Marlin McNichols, and myself, Dr. Joyce McNichols. And we got more shows coming your way. Most of them, in fact, all of them practically are going to be industry related. Am I right?
You're right.
Yes,
Correct.
and we're going to have some even artist involvement, independent artists involved. And their road sometimes can just be a struggle, the independent artists. And so we're even offering an avenue for them, right, Doc?
That's right.
To be able to do some things. Just kind of tell us quickly, baby, list a couple of things that we are really hoping to help independent artists do.
Okay, this show, as you know, well, as you will begin to know, is a show for the independent. We know the struggle of the independent because we've been independent for a long time, and we know that this show can provide some very important information and direction, and also with our relationships and joint ventures across the globe with other publishing companies, other record labels, this information that we have will be very important for the new artists, recording artists, writer, publishers,
struggling artists,
or pardon me,
or even the struggling artists. Those who've been at it a long time and just haven't had a break.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So with all that said, again, thanks a lot. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next time. We'd like to say thank you for joining us today. As a matter of fact, Doc, what do you have to say?
Peace out.